I am Jose Sogard, Deputy Director for the Office of Nightlife. Before we begin our program tonight, just some general house rules. Please turn in your comment card as soon as possible if you wish to speak tonight so that we can manage the public speaking in an orderly way. Everyone will have 2 minutes to speak, and we ask that you please be respectful of everyone's time as well as each other. If you're not able to speak tonight, you also may submit your comments via email, and we'll have that email address on screen throughout the night. I'd now like to introduce Larry Anderson, the Director of Performing Arts and Production Management here from Snug Harbor Cultural Center and Botanical Garden. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Sogard. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Historic Music Hall. I see some people spread out back there. We'd love it if you could come closer. We don't bite. There's plenty of great seats up front, so if you guys can, please come a little closer. Let's make it intimate. As Director Sogard said, my name is Larry Anderson. I'm the Director of Performing Arts here at Snug Harbor, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you here tonight. We're honored to host this listening session with the Office of Nightlife at the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, who serves as a central point of contact between city agencies, nightlife business owners, residents, employees, patrons, and artists, promoting a safe and vibrant nightlife scene beneficial to all New Yorkers. Staten Island's nightlife is an important incubator of cultural movements and provides space for creativity, social cohesion, and personal expression. Similarly, providing dynamic programming in arts, education, horticulture, and agriculture, and recreation for diverse cultures of all ages is a crucial part to Snug Harbor's mission. We are a free public park and a proud member of the citywide Cultural Institutions Group, with generous support from New York City Department of Cultural Affairs. Snug Harbor is not only one of Staten Island's leading cultural programmers, we are also proud to be home and venue for dozens of locally based theater companies, dance companies, and performance groups. We welcome thousands of visitors like you to Snug Harbor every single day, and the entertainment and events that we provide, we're always working to improve and offer more from everything else that you guys let us know about, which is why we're very excited to be here and listen to what you have to say. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Ariel Palitz, the Senior Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Nightlife. Welcome, Ariel.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Larry. And thank you to your amazing staff and crew for hosting us here at this historic music hall at the Snug Harbor Cultural Center and Botanical Gardens, if you didn't know. I also want to thank Just Water for their generous donation tonight. I see everyone scattered around. I hope everyone's comfortable. Feel free to come sit down if you're out in the back and join the community here. I wanted to also recognize and thank President and CEO of the St. George's Theater, Doreen Congo, as well. Give it up for her. And such a beautiful place. This place is almost 200 years old, which is incredible, second only in age to Carnegie Hall in New York, so that's why we chose this magnificent space. I also want to thank Jenny Kelly of Snug Harbor for all her help in helping us put this together. And of course, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to be here tonight to address the important issues surrounding nightlife here in Staten Island. For those of you who don't know me, I am Ariel Palitz, the first Senior Executive Director for the newly created Office of Nightlife. Before this, I owned a nightclub in the East Village for 10 years called the Sutra Lounge. I served on Community Board 3 on the Liquor Licensing Committee for 6 years, and I currently live above a bar. So I guess you could say I'm here because I've been there. This is the third of our 5-borough listening tour to hear the comments and concerns and ideas of everyone in the community. These meetings have been a positive and productive representation by elected officials, city and state agencies, industry, and community. But before I get started, I want to introduce this great borough's elected officials. First, representing Borough President Jimmy Otto is Deputy Borough President Ed Burke. Here he is. Yay.
Thank you very much. Well, I guess this is an example of my nightlife. Thank you. It'll grow on you as you think about it a little bit. No, I was on the way here. I was saying nightlife is different things to different people. The latest I've been out in 3 months was at the St. George Theater seeing the band Chicago. I was home by 11:30 in bed, done. But for a lot of Staten Islanders and a lot of people in this city, nightlife is an important part of their lives. And I think it's wonderful that the mayor and his team have designated this office to kind of be your voice in government. And this listening tour is a great way for people who are a part of the nightlife industry to come in and talk to us, to talk to people in government and try to solve problems. I really like what the mayor said when he announced this, this division, so take a listen. Nightlife is part of the spark of our city. It's one of the few spaces where all our diversity comes together in a single room. And about Ariel, he said, she's lived and breathed this work her whole life, and she wants to bring everybody together to foster the kind of vibrant and safe nightlife New Yorkers deserve. That's the great spirit of cooperation I think we want to foster here. So on behalf of Borough President Jim Otto, we want to grow this industry. We want to be part of the conversation about how to nurture it. It is absolutely wonderful that the music hall at Snug Harbor was selected, because I want to give a shout out to the cultural institutions and all the people who work in them. Doreen Cogner has been mentioned, she's here, but there are others. And a lot of Staten Islanders are rediscovering nightlife and getting out into the community and exploring these places because of our cultural institutions. And they also go to the restaurants, and they also visit the taverns. This is all part of the fabric, and we want to grow our cultural institutions at the same time we're growing these industries. So I'm going to be here to listen, and I will probably be home in bed again, maybe by 10 o'clock tonight. That's my nightlife. But from Borough President Otto, please know that this office has made it very clear that they want to listen to your issues and address them. And thank you all for coming. Good night.
This is the spirit of cooperation that the Office of Nightlife is really generating, and we couldn't be more thrilled to have the Borough President's Office representing here tonight. I also want to introduce the chair of the City Council's Committee on Youth Services and the representative of this district, the wonderful City Council member Debbie Rose. Please welcome her.
Boy, you made me feel like Miss America. Good evening. You're supposed to say good evening. Good evening. And welcome to the best district in New York City, the North Shore of Staten Island. I want to first start by thanking, Senior Executive Director Pallitz for being here in one of my favorite venues in all of New York City. And even though Staten Island and this district is in the shadow of the bright lights of Broadway and Manhattan, we do have a nightlife here. And so tonight is going to give you an opportunity to talk about that and the issues that are important to you. So as you all know, we are the city that never sleeps. And that's not because we're all insomniacs. Some of us have a lot of energy, and so we engage in the nightlife. New York City's nightlife is not only part of our identity, it's an integral part of our economy. It supports 100,000 jobs and a $9 billion economic industry in this city. I think that should be applauded. Too often, however, the owners of nightlife establishments feel targeted by the city's many enforcement agents and inspectors. And we have a lot of agencies that oversee these establishments. We have NYPD, the Department of Buildings, the Fire Department, DCA, MOME, and the March Task Force, which all play a role on whether a venue can open or remain open. Business owners are often confused and overburdened by the regulations and red tape that they have to go through. My colleagues and I in the City Council recognize this. And so, thanks to Councilmember Rafael Espinal, we passed, he deserves a big round of applause. We passed legislation last year to create this office to serve as an central point of contact between city agencies, nightlife business owners, residents, employees, and citizens of New York City. So I'm pleased that we were able to pass this bill and create this resource, and equally pleased with the mayor's choice to lead this office. Ariel Pallitz is ideally suited. She owned and operated a nightclub on the Lower East Side for 10 years. So she knows what you go through. She knows what it's like. And she served on the community board for more than 6 years. So she knows what it's like to hear it from the community side. And we know how vocal our community boards are in terms of quality of life issues. And she has spent the past 3 years as a consultant helping entrepreneurs open nightlife establishments in New York City. Like any other good leader, she wanted to start her work by listening to what New Yorkers have to say. And oftentimes, we as Staten Islanders say that no one listens to us. So she is here to listen to your concerns about quality of life, public safety, regulations, enforcement. And so I don't want you to dance around the issues. So please bring your concerns and whatever's on your mind to the table. So with that, I say we're going to have a productive evening. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Debbie Rose. That is truly what we are doing here tonight. I love that, don't dance around the issues. We really do want to hear from you tonight. But before we do, I do have one more introduction. I would like to introduce from Brooklyn, actually, the chair of the City Council's Committee on Consumer Affairs, the author of the legislation that created the Office of Nightlife, as well as the repeal of the cabaret law. Council member Rafael Espinal is here tonight. Please welcome him.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Councilman Rafael Espinal, and I'm responsible for the creation of this office and also for repealing the cabaret law in New York City. What I really love about this tour is that we're actually going into every single borough and listening from every single community across the city. So there's no one that can say they feel left out of the process. And I know Staten Island, for the most part, feels that New York City Hall should be doing more. And I agree, just being here today, I have to say I'm falling in love with the borough already. I had some pizza at Lee's Tavern, I had a beer. And even there on a Tuesday night, I saw how crowded they got. And it just reminds me of how important our nightlife venues are. I mean, these are places just not only provide entertainment, but they're also spaces where people come together, build community, and make friends, build a local family. So when I created this office, I created it because I was always concerned about the issues nightlife was facing as a whole. I saw a lot of my favorite bars and venues close down in Brooklyn, and I thought that it was finally time for City Hall to actually start having a conversation instead of ignoring the problems that they were seeing. And yes, this is an office that's going to ensure that everyone's represented, whether you're a bar owner, whether you're an artist at the bar, whether you're a patron at the bar, whether you're someone sleeping at your home next door to a bar and has issues with nightlife as a whole. So it's about creating an environment where everyone's problems gets to be heard, and moving forward, we'll be able to find solutions to make sure that New York City continues being the city that never sleeps, but also those that want to sleep can have their good night rest. So I'm very proud of this work. I'm very proud of Ariel Pallett. She's been amazing to work with, and just seeing these town halls, I would say, are really, I think it's really unprecedented. And we're gonna be able to push forward with ideas and make sure that New York City continues being the vibrant city that it is. And before I'm done, I just want to acknowledge and thank Debbie Rose for allowing me to have a visa to come into her district. It expires soon, so I have to run. Thank you all, and enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Thank you again, Raphael, for joining us tonight. And I do have a few words that I prepared, but I've been informed that some people may be comment card shy. We are all here to hear from you. And so I would really like to encourage everyone, whether they be operators or patrons, residents, employees, to take this opportunity. We have so much representation from the city and state here tonight, and now is a really great opportunity to be heard in a very personal way and a direct way in which we could hopefully address some of your personal as well as systemic concerns addressing nightlife and community tonight. So don't be shy. In the words of Debbie Rose, do not dance around it. I'm going to use that forever. I don't know why I didn't think of it. So with the electeds making their remarks, I will say a few words just to give understanding about what we're doing. We are here tonight not only to address the importance and impact of nightlife, but life at night, and how we can best proactively manage and support it. The Office of Nightlife was established to promote safe and vibrant nightlife that works for all New Yorkers. As was mentioned, we are a liaison between the city, agencies, and state, nightlife businesses, owners, residents, employees, patrons, and performers. We are here to find a common ground so that we can coexist through cooperation and mutual respect. In fact, here tonight, as well as with all of our borough listening tours, we have invited mediation services in each borough. There is a table in the back that you'll see, and these are free mediation services for residents as well as business owners to work out and mediate perhaps some miscommunications that are happening, rather than going directly to enforcement and to try to work it out. So they are in the back if you do want some mediation services. To understand the New York's Office of Nightlife, it is important to put it in a global context. New York is now part of a global movement, what I like to call a United Nations of nightlife. Ooh, that was loud. Earlier this month, Washington, D.C. announced that they also will be establishing their own Office of Nightlife. And if you didn't know, there are more than 40 cities that have an Office of Nightlife around the world and in this country. And they are working to proactively manage their nightlife and nighttime economies. And they are getting results. In Amsterdam, they have achieved quality of life improvements like a 30% reduction in crime and a 28% reduction in noise complaints. Berlin recently announced that the government is investing in soundproofing at venues and clubs. New York has joined this movement because it also recognizes that nightlife significance in our city and in our place in the world. Nightlife is an ecosystem that includes us all. It is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week city, and nightlife is the other 9 to 5. As we all know as New Yorkers, nightlife is vital to our economy, identity, and culture, and it has given rise to musical movements like jazz, salsa, disco, hip hop, and punk that has impacted the world. For some people, nightlife is their community and their whole world. It is a safe place to come together and to be themselves. Nightlife is essential to strengthening and protecting New York diversity. In order to better understand and assess the economic value of nightlife, we actually have some updates to the numbers that have been cited, and the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment is releasing that nightlife economic impact study later this year. It shows now that nightlife supports nearly 3,000 jobs in New York, 300,000 jobs in New York, $48 billion in economic impact, and nearly $700 million in tax revenues that are supporting city services citywide. As nightlife continues to grow, our city and each borough will benefit from a more coordinated effort, planning with proactive management and productive partnerships working together. The creation of the Office of Nightlife in and of itself is a sign of a new approach that recognizes what nightlife contributes to the city while addressing the challenges and impacts. The purpose of this 5-borough listening tour is to help inform our office as we develop programs and initiatives that address the industry and residential community's most important priorities. Almost done. The Office of Nightlife is not an enforcement agency, and it is not meant to be a silver bullet, but we are looking to create systemic solutions and to find balance. We want to support businesses with resources and education to help them be successful in order to be better neighbors. And to ensure safety and quality of life for everyone, and to help stabilize nightlife in order to enable creativity and culture. We know that this is a tall order, and it's going to take a lot of cooperation from everyone. Thankfully, the Office of Nightlife is in the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment and has tremendous resources and a team under Commissioner Julie Menon. I also have a very strong core team Nightlife at the Office of Nightlife with my Deputy Director, Jose Sogard, Associate Director for Nightlife and Community and Industry Relations, Ray Martin, and my Strategic Planning Associate, Francesca Mira. One final thing is that I would also like to acknowledge that we do have a Nightlife Advisory Board, which was established by legislation as a 14-member independent body to make its own recommendations to the City Council and to the Mayor, independent of our office. They represent all walks of life from every corner of the city, and several of them are here tonight to listen to you as well. Now, it is with great pleasure that I would like to welcome to the stage our city and state agencies, who I have come to learn are also just people who love New York, not just city and state agencies. I am so grateful that they have agreed to come and sit with me here tonight to hear all of you as we inform the work ahead for the Office of Nightlife and how we will all work together. So at this time, I'd like to invite all of our city and state agency representatives to join me on stage. As you will see, we have representation from the Buildings Department, City Planning, Cultural Affairs, Environmental Protection, Health and Mental Hygiene, Small Business Services, Fire Department, Police Department, Oath, and the New York State Liquor Authority. So this is really an unprecedented representation of city and state that has come together to address the nightlife and community issues here in Staten Island. While they're assembling, I encourage you all again to think of something you would like to address to the committee. And in the meantime, my colleague Jose will go over some ground rules. Thank you. Jose. Could you actually come to this mic, Jose, so you can unwind it and give it to me? Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening again. If you have not yet done so, please fill out and submit your comment card if you would like to speak. You may hand it in now to the staff who will be walking up and down the aisles in just a moment. We'll be calling you up to speak in groups of 3. The first group will come to one side of the room in front of me. I'll be sitting at that table, and the next group will be on deck, lining up on this side of the room. Each person will have 2 minutes, and we will be keeping time at the front. Please keep your comments respectful and brief. To ensure everyone has time, there will be no back and forth, but agency staff will be available after the meeting, and you may submit additional comments to the email address posted at the top of the screen.
Okay, so Jose's gonna name some people who have filled out cards, and it is time for us to hear what the Office of Nightlife and the city can do for you.
Thank you. Our first 2 speakers tonight are Micheline Wilkerson and Jatik Long. Please come to the front, either microphone.
Hi. How will the Office of Nightlife collaborate with curators to create and support programming opportunities for emerging artists, native and non-native to Staten Island? And the reason I bring this up is, as an event curator, curators are tastemakers and community builders who are often left out of these conversations. And we act as culture creators and act as filters for creating quality entertainment and programming that makes people keep coming back for more. So are there any resources or ways that we can connect together to collaborate to build more culture scenes in Staten Island?
Thanks so much for bringing this up. I think the best way that we can really support you is to hear from you on how you need support.
Okay.
Rather than me assuming or us assuming what you need. I think part of why we're here and why really the door is always open is to hear from you and let us know where we can be helpful and connect the dots. Right. Because there's so many incredible resources in New York and in Staten Island. And I think it's really up to, the Office of Nightlife to highlight those potential relationships and really to take a cue from you.
Great. Would I be able to highlight just an issue? Just highlight an area really quick?
We don't have a packed house, so we could probably do a little back and forth today.
Awesome. So I think one area where the Department of Nightlife can support is specifically promotion opportunities because, as a Staten Islander, I can go almost anywhere in any borough and see promotion, for Brooklyn events in Manhattan and Queens events in Brooklyn, whereas Staten Island, it's kind of like, where is our nightlife? What's happening in Staten Island, to bring awareness to what's happening out here in our culture scene. And also, perhaps if there are ways to, whether that be like an office of, I know there are different offices of programming for different arenas. So maybe collaborating with those websites or social media pages in order to promote these events and get people out here and into our scene and our culture. Yeah.
Yep, those are amazing ideas. I think collaboration is the key, and really piggybacking and partnering with other existing entities that maybe are getting a little bit more shine and being able to work together. I do know that the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, in which we are in, does also host Music Month in June, which is citywide and has a lot of seminars and panels and events for networking. And although it is in Brooklyn, they have also just launched a freelancers hub in Dumbo, Brooklyn, which is part of the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. And the Office of Nightlife will be really promoting the incredible services for supporting artists, promoters, musicians on healthcare, legal services, promotional services. You can get resumes written. I believe there's video editing, music recording.
Right.
So there's a whole freelancers hub that it was just launched last week that will really be highlighting a lot of nightlife activity there as well. But we have the borough president's office, and you have your city council members here, and I think, you know, culture and nightlife is extremely important and to the vitality of Staten Island, and I know that they agree. So let's continue the conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
So basically, I guess it's a question/concern. As a musician, an artist, and a member of Staten Island creative community along the North Shore, one of the biggest concerns that me and a lot of people we face is that resources as far as venues go, as far as spacing, a lot of the places where a lot of musicians play, they're either really small and it's really a bar and it's not a music venue, or it's in a DIY space, and that brings a whole lot of other factors into play. And so my question would be what can be done to support the growth of that culture, because I think it's something that is very viable and very supportive, especially when the Staten Island creative culture has brought a lot of different big things to light, you know?
I do know that's true. Wu-Tang, you know it? So yeah, I think that really supporting underground and community cultural activity is essential. I think part of the reason why Raphael Espinal and Debbie Rose wanted the creation of this office was to help the DIY communities. Historically, they tend to be underground, quasi-legal, illegal, and so part of the purpose and mission of this office is to help create pathways to legality, to help support the more community-driven cultural spaces. And I think that it's also important from within the creative community to think outside the box, in a sense. There's many different types of spaces. There's this incredible venue here that I know really does curate and support artistry of all kinds. And I think what we would like to do at the Office of Nightlife is to create on our website a one-stop shop, not just for operators, but for artists and residents to see what the resources are in their borough, maybe things they hadn't thought about, and creating bridges there. And not just thinking of the typical place, but really looking at all the resources that you have here in a different way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jose?
That's all the cards that we've received here at the front.
There's one. What we'd be happy to do is, we do have microphones here. If you would like, you could, if you have a card, just step up to the mic, or even if you don't have a card, and you can fill it out later. You had a card, you can stand up and voice your common concern or idea.
You want me to?
Well, there's someone right behind you.
Oh, great.
And then you can go right afterward.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. My name is Kristen. I run a nonprofit streaming community radio station here called Maker Park Radio on the North Shore. We're 1.5 years old. We ran a block party last year that drew about 700 people. By everyone else's standards, that's tiny, but for Staten Island, that was pretty cool. Anyway, so the permitting process that we went through, we ended up just doing a block party because we had to end our sound permit at 8 o'clock at night. And it was difficult to the sound permit, we're a nonprofit, so to get something that was a street festival permit was thousands and thousands of dollars. And as a nonprofit and a new nonprofit, there was no way that we were going to be able to afford the street festival permit. And it would have been nice to have gone for a couple hours later. And but so we ended up with a street, like a block party permit, street closure. How is your office, or how can your office in any way help with people wanting to do an outdoor event, whether that be a block party or a street festival or an outdoor nightclub event, or maybe make it cheaper? The process of applying to these things, the application is very difficult to navigate. Sometimes each situation is very complicated and doesn't necessarily match all of the boxes that you need to tick on the application. So it's a complicated process to try to get a later in the evening outdoor event, is what I'm trying to say. So how can your office, if any way, help people who want to create nighttime events that may be outdoors and make it easier for people?
Thank you so much for your question and for what you're doing in Staten Island. What a very cool thing. Radio and these type of events sounds exactly like what some of the other people who have already spoken are looking for, and I think you all should definitely speak afterward. I think just seeing this table and this representation of the city and state agencies is a representation of what we will be doing moving forward. As far as working together to streamline red tape and bureaucracy and possibly costs of things like this, and I'm not really aware of that whole process yet, but you bringing that to our attention. I'm not sure who at this table, the street fairs and Greg, who is in charge of?
That's Staten.
Oh. All right, well, I mean, actually at our last town hall, we also had comments about how some of the New York City street fairs don't really always represent the small businesses that are actually on those streets, and how to make New York street fairs more New York, and have it represent more of the nightlife into the day life and real artistry. And so that's now twice that it's been put on our radar, and so we'll most definitely be paying attention to that. You want to follow up?
Sorry, but it's integrated with the fire department and the police department because you need everybody to be on the same page once the day arrives.
Right, I mean, the initial application would go through the office, it's called SAPO, Street Activities Permit Office. It's an online application that defines the parameters of what blocks, date, time you're looking to set up that event. And obviously the timeline of those events are very, very rigid. The sound permit application goes through the local precinct, as we well know. It's a fine balancing act that we have in the New York City government, certainly in the New York City Police Department, to try to limit the number of events going on at any one time. If you have, hypothetically, North Shore, the 124 precinct, Inspector Abbasi, who's here, if he has 10, 15 street fairs, block parties going on at once, it's going to be very difficult to manage. So that 8 o'clock timeline to shut it down, the music off, is obviously something that's been negotiated over the course of years in the interest of harmony for all the neighbors, people who chose not to participate in that block party, people who live on the very next block who aren't privy to enjoying the festivities. So it's something that we try to accommodate as often as possible, working with our partners in the fire department and city government and the SAPO office. But certainly we have to have limitations, obviously. And to have there's been a moratorium on new events, obviously, for a number of years in city government. I mean by that, more of the larger lines of parades and street fairs. They're trying to limit those things based on the cost, because there is a tangible cost to these events that city government has to, set up. Obviously, the police department, sanitation department, parks department, yada yada yada. So there is a tangible cost to having these events. So obviously, we collectively are trying to limit the number of events for a number of years now. But certainly, we're open-minded. We're very, as we roll out our neighborhood policing philosophy, I have some neighborhood coordination officers in the back there from the Snug Harbor community. We're obviously open-minded. All the precinct commanders here for Staten Island are actually here tonight. It's very refreshing. Staten Island's a very unique community. Ariel was, fortunate enough to attend the June nightlife quarterly meeting at the Manor House Restaurant on Manor Road, where she got to see just how, issues are resolved at the grass level under Inspector Delahanty's tutelage for a number of years now. So, but certainly, once again, we're very open-minded. We're willing to work with everybody. We want to make things, peaceful and harmonious as possible. So please, we're open-minded stuff. Thank you.
I think, again, the fact that there is a creation of the Office of Nightlife and that we do have such really strong cooperation and participation with all of the city and state agencies. This is not just a representation for the listening tour. This is really setting the groundwork for after the listening tour and creating a multi-agency working group together for nightlife and cultural issues. And so after we're done and here listening to what your issues are, we will be taking this back and taking a look at what is the process and can we make it easier while ensuring safety and the parameters that have taken years to put them in place. But perhaps a little bit more support and streamlining could allow for a little bit more cultural vibrancy. And I appreciate you bringing that to our attention very much. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Doreen Cunyo, and I'm the CEO at the St. George Theater. So I have a response to my friends over here and an issue. First, I'll take care of the response to our curators and our up-and-coming artists. You know what I wish that we do more of is getting out there and networking. We definitely have to network. I wish I knew you. My door is always open. Come visit me. I have a wonderful team here of programming and marketing. We're happy to meet new artists. Maybe not to take the St. George Theater stage just because of our hard course, but doing something in a lobby, opening acts, things like that. And you know what? Visit the restaurant owners. You have these restaurant owners here. I see many of my friends from the North Shore here. They're all always looking of new ways to bring new customers in. So I think we should have more networking events where the artists meet the business owners. I mean, I'm happy to host one at the theater, on an off night, maybe a Monday night. But I think that's very important.
Love it.
I think too many of us, especially, the younger generation, count on this social media to find a way of networking. It's super great, it's the way to go, but there's nothing wrong with this one-on-one and having these personal networking events. So I think that's what I would love to do if I could help in any way.
Couldn't agree more.
Number two, concern. We have events, we have 2,000 seats. Last year we had just about a sold-out event. I can't think of the name of it, a rock show. My security says they're opening the road up outside right now. I go outside, and they're taking these huge national grids out there, huge trucks. They're closing the street. They're picking up the big metal plates, and they're about to dig up around 9 o'clock at night. I said, oh, guys, I was like, can I speak to the head person here? Go see that guy up there. I go up there, and I said, 2,000 people are going to be let out in about an hour and a half, and I'm afraid they're going to fall into that ditch there that you're opening up right now. Is there any way you could hold off on your construction right now and start at 11? They're like, oh, boy. I was like, all right, how about, you guys take a break. I'll give you tickets to come see the show, and you finish at 11. He's like, okay. I was like, whatever you need. They took their hard hats off. They finished. They closed it up. I let them in. They sat upstairs. I mean, it was a cool rock show. I don't know if you guys can remember the name, Jim and Vin. Ace Frehley, yeah, it was Ace Frehley we had from KISS, yeah. And, but my point is, you know what? I wish I knew this National Grid should have known that we had 2,000 people coming in and out during the time they were doing the work. It happened before with Con Edison, an Eliza Minnelli show I'll never forget, and we had to do the same thing. And thank God, the guys working were willing to work with us, but it was a safety issue too they didn't want to deal with. And also we had events where in the day we had maybe family programming and you closed the street for a parade that was never brought to our attention. So I wish that the St. George Theater could be on the radar when people go to get permits to close the street, to do work, or to have parades, and contact the St. George Theater. You could look on our website, in January, and Ace Frehley we booked within 10 weeks. It might not have been on back then. Or we have private events, right, graduations and dance recitals, and you're closing the street for a parade, and those in wheelchairs can't get on the road, can't get into the theater in a safe manner. So I just wish we could be on the radar. I don't know if it's the buildings department, that when folks apply for these permits to close the street, that they contact us just to check our schedule. It's mostly for safety reasons.
I mean, Doreen, I certainly agree with you. That's certainly a component that each of my commanders probably should be doing if they're not doing it already. The St. George Theater is obviously a very important institution for us here in Staten Island. I just want to thank you and your staff for always helping out, Detective Rios, Detective Kelly over the years.
You guys are wonderful to us, too.
No, thank you. It's a true partnership, and
Yeah.
I'm not taking any credit for it, because, the men and women to my
They
left
are, they're
over
great.
there, they're doing all the work. I mean, I had the great pleasure working out here in Staten Island for 6 years, a few years back. And I don't know if you remember, we had a very bad burglary pattern going on, and you opened up your doors to us for some, to have some camera surveillance and some stuff that you and your husband helped us out with immensely at that time. And
At our home.
that's right.
Yes.
That's correct. That's going back a long, long time ago. But we don't.
Wow, I forgot about that.
We don't
Yeah.
forget, Doreen. So I just want to say thank you for, on a
You're
personal
welcome.
level, for all of that, all that help. Go back to probably 2009,
Yeah,
2010, whatever the year may have been. But certainly, once again, that's why we have these listening tours, these meetings to try to get better. So obviously,
Right.
Closing a street affects
Right.
many people.
And my fault, I never contacted the agencies afterward. I dealt with the issue and then worked on the next day. But I wish, if there was somehow, I guess it's when they apply for the permits is when they should maybe contact us. I don't
Gotcha.
know.
Have one.
Right? Yeah.
Thank you.
And I just want to give a comment to the fire department and the NYPD. Safety is such a priority for us. And for every show, we always ask for protection outside. And we have, a very professional team that, it's amazing how when we opened up 15 years ago, we would have one security guard just to handle the heckler or the drunk in the room. Now is to protect our patrons from these active shooters and terrorism. And I thank all of you because our patrons feel so safe because what you provide for us, and you're very good to us. So,
Thank you so much. I think there's probably another agency or two.
I think just to follow that up, one of the things for business owners out there, what the St. George Theater experience, I'm sure other businesses have experienced, where the city's doing work and may have either opened up the street or put staging materials in front of your business. At Small Business Services, we have an emergency response team, and one of the goals of that is to actually advocate for you. So we will actually work with the agency. Every agency is supposed to have a community associate, someone to actually go to every business and let you know if water is going to be turned off or if the street is going to be opened up. Sometimes
that happened to us too. Water turned off, yes.
Right. So
Another
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But just for the businesses in the room, just know that there is a service at Small Business Services. I'm sure the council member Debbie Rose also has staff that could also advocate on your behalf. But we will then step in and help negotiate either a time, changing the time for water turnoff or changing the time for opening up the street, et cetera. So I just wanted to put that out there as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate you bringing this up and also you addressing it. I've actually, at the Office of Nightlife, have received very similar complaints from all over the city. Construction is we know it's pervasive in the city, and there's so many agencies that have to coordinate and contracts that are done months in advance, and it's very complicated and it's very real for nightlife and water turnoffs and businesses that happen at night. And it's very important for us at the Office of Nightlife to speak for and advocate for what's happening and the impact, the economic impact and the logistical impact of what that construction can do on a business. And so it's very much on our radar, and you have, again, the ear of the whole city for you here tonight. So I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. And for your original comment, networking events, again, thinking outside the box, restaurants, bars, theaters, take this opportunity to meet each other as well.
Yeah,
Thank
and-
you so much.
And I'd be happy to host an event. I think that's very important for us to network with each other. Yeah.
We will take you up on
Okay.
it. Anyone else? Feel free to stand. Yes, you will stand at that microphone, and you stand at this microphone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, great. Okay, go first. So it is true there are. Hi. My name is Olympia Kazi, and I'm an advocate with the New York City Artists Coalition. I am one of the members of the advisory board. Another two people are here in the room. But tonight we speak in not as members of the advisory board, but as advocates who ended up on that platform. So anyway, it's great to see all of you here tonight. My organization, the New York City Artists Coalition, advocates for the safety and preservation of grassroots cultural spaces. Safety is very important, and I heard the first two comments. I was like, oh, they should know about us. We should work together. Because we've been, we've come to existence after a tragedy, after the gossip tragedy. And the last 2 years, we were the people behind the Cabarello. Rafael is our best buddy out there. We worked with him in the establishment of the Office of Nightlife. And right now, we have 3 legislations as advocates that may really have an effect on your life. And so I wanted to bring them into your attention. I think Vega knows already about the introduction of number 1156 by Council Member Steve Levin. It's a legislation that it will ask some transparency and oversight about the raids that some of your restaurants may have had, that they're called MARCH, Multi-Agency Response to Community Hotspots. These raids, we've heard reports that sometimes end up closing these valuable few spaces that are out there. And we want to make sure that if they happen, they have a reason to happen. If there is a criminal activity, of course, go there. But it sounds like sometimes they just is an incredible amount of force for, 3-4 violations that they shouldn't have a raid. Anyway, talksnotraids.com is where you can find information. And if you have been marched, please let your story be known, because the City Council is very interested in doing legislation about that. The second thing I wanted to bring in your attention, we just heard last week the commissioner from the Small Business Services testifying again in front of City Council, because the City Council speaker is doing a package of legislations, including the Small Business Job Survival Act this year, that are about supporting small businesses. It's about the affordability, lease protections, vacancy fines. They consider a lot of things, even tax incentives for landlords. So again, if you're interested for that, it's going to have an impact on you. So get information about this package of legislation, and you can follow New York City Artists Coalition. With that, maybe I gave you some ideas about things that you can ask here. These people can take tough questions, so go ahead and ask whatever happened to you. You were marched, let them know. You have small business issues, your lease was not renewed without any reason, let them know, because they can change that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Olympia. You are an inspiration and a force of nature. And thank you for bringing the new legislations. The administration and all city and state agencies are highly supportive of small businesses. Obviously, it's what makes New York what it is. The March legislation, I know it's on the table. I can tell you from the Office of Nightlife standpoint and the relationships that we have that there is a lot of cooperation and willingness to do this as a partnership and to bring more awareness and more oversight to the march. And what's more important for me from the Office of Nightlife is the multi-agency support system that we will be also creating to be preemptive to the enforcement, to help reach out to businesses and to help give them the support and education they need to avoid being susceptible to March.
Since we brought up the support of small business, I just wanted to, while the legislation is being negotiated, and I think the administration and council share the same goal of coming up with a legislation that would support small businesses, In the meantime, while that process is happening, I just wanted to highlight some of the programs that we're doing at Small Business Services. So if you're a small business and if you are about to enter into a lease or you're about to enter into a lease renegotiation, we do offer free legal services, and I would advise everyone to actually take advantage of that. We've had businesses that have used our legal services and walked away with like a 10-year lease with favorable renewal terms. It's very important that you have someone that could negotiate on your behalf. And it's amazing what happens when you bring lawyers in the room, the conversation changes. We also, as an administration, and a lot of folks who've been business owners know this, since the start of the de Blasio administration, we've actually cut the revenue targets of the regulatory agencies. In the previous administration, the regulatory agencies had revenue targets in terms of fines. We've reduced those revenue targets. So fines to small businesses have been reduced by 40%. That equals about $20 million that have been of savings for small businesses. We've also created a portal online. If you are not familiar with nyc.gov/business, you should be. As a business owner, especially in this area, especially if you own a restaurant or bar, that portal will allow you to see the most common violations. So we've used data to look at where the regulatory agencies were hitting a lot of small businesses. We've now put that information online because what we've heard from small business owners is that you don't know what you don't know. And therefore, we now highlight what are the most common violations. You can have someone from my team come out to your business to do what we call a compliance advisor to come out and do a mock inspection. We don't cover everything, but we'll cover and we'll tell you how to prepare for an inspection from, for example, the health department, DCA, fire department, et cetera. Online as well, if you put in your business information, not only can you see the permits that you have with the different agencies, ultimately you'll be able to renew those permits. But most importantly, especially for this industry, a lot of businesses don't know the complaints that they have through 311 against your business. So that information is now there. So if you are an establishment, a bar, a restaurant, I encourage you to actually start an account, because then you can see any 311 complaints. That's very important, because if you have a liquor license, you only find out when you go in front of the community board, and then they tell you have like hundreds of complaints against your business, or if you have a close relationship with the police department. So I just wanted to highlight some of the services that we have right now to help you run your business as efficiently as possible. We do want to make sure that you know that New York City we want to be supportive to small businesses, and we'll continue to push to make sure that it is the city that we can open up your business and run it as efficiently as possible.
Hi, I'm Alvester Garnett. I'm on the New York City Nightlife Advisory Board. I'm also a member of Local 802, but I'm here speaking basically as a musician. One of the things that I'm a bit concerned about is the timing, specifically the hours of these events. I love it that all these agencies are here, and I would assume you're probably, right now off the clock, or you're working past your regular hours. For us in nightlife, the people that work in nightlife, this is a lot of times when I would be setting up my drums, getting ready to play. So it's kind of hard. I know that Ariel talked to us about all the stakeholders that are involved in this process in some of our meetings, and I took a great lesson from that. And so there's a lot of people involved. There's the performers, there's the people that live near the venues, there's the venue owners, and we all are stakeholders in this. My concern is just simply that the timing of this being in the evening, it's hard for musicians to be here. It's hard for performers to be here. It's also hard for the workers that work at these bars, that do that kind of service to the industry that I as a musician does, that the person pouring the drinks does. So that's something I think we need to think about. I hope that we can have more of these at some point. I know that you said it's an ongoing process, Ariel. We need to listen to the community, to the workers, to all the stakeholders. That's an ongoing process. But some of these formal get-togethers like this, it'd be great to see them earlier at some point. I know there's only 5 scheduled, but if we could find a way to involve people that work in the nightlife by doing things in the daytime so that they can be here too.
I appreciate you mentioning that, and it was always a point of concern for the Office of Nightlife. We had looked at many different ways of staggering the meetings from afternoon and evening, afternoon, evening, but no matter how we slice it, everyone seemed to feel the same way. Well, I work during the day, so I can't make it at night. I can't make. The good thing is this is 5 of thousands. We will be having many meetings for all the stakeholders, and also having many meetings where they'll all be represented. It is noted. I wish we could have done them at all hours, but this is for many reasons how it turned out. I think so far it's been a good representation, but moving forward we'll do other meetings during the day to ensure everyone's included. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you. I have one more comment. I noticed it's great to see that fines are reduced for businesses so that they can, it's like a 40% reduction, I think you said, versus, with this administration versus the previous administration. And that's important to, of course, enabling business to thrive. And it's great that we have that kind of information that's being put out there. But once again, coming from a worker's standpoint, it's like the savings that's there, it's like it'd be great to see more information for how musicians could raise their standard of living. I'm not directing this just at you. I'm just saying that knowing that kind of information, it makes it a little bit of a bitter pill when you know that the average pay for musicians in New York City is around $30,000 a year. And that's like putting you at the poverty level, I think, in New York City. And that's a study from the Mayor's Office of Media Entertainment. So with that in mind, I think that we have to really keep in mind, it can't be just a top-down approach to this process. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. I know that the mayor's office signed a few bills, the Fair Work Week laws and Freelance Isn't Free Act, I believe, are certain legislations that have been passed, because I do know that workforce and musicians and artists are very important to the administration. So, but that's really good to note, that it's not just a trickle-down theory happening, that we really need to support everyone as much as we can at every level of the culture game. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Is there any other questions? Oh, Miss Rose, please. We would love to hear from you. Thank you.
I just have a question for Oath. Going back a while, a number of complaints that I received in my office, and I'm not sure, I have to apologize that I'm not sure if you've addressed this, but for businesses here on Staten Island, when they have to appear before Oath, for them to take the time out to travel to Manhattan, it takes them away from their businesses it becomes a whole day experience for them. And they can't really afford the time to be away from their establishments, for that length of time. We had talked about establishing, an office or a satellite, or having Oath offices available here on Staten Island a number of days a week, so that businesses could take care of that. So have you addressed that? Are you here? Because it's not fair that they have to travel into Manhattan and spend, a good part of their day away from their businesses.
How you doing? Good evening. Thank you for your question, Councilwoman. So I'm going to take note of this concern, and I will address it with the commissioner, and we'll reach back out to you possibly by the end of the week. Is that okay?
That would be fine, because it really is, it's a hardship. It's a hardship. And for every other borough to have, an office where they can go and mediate these these violations. It really is important that we have someone here.
Absolutely.
And I'd be glad to help you negotiate some space somewhere. I don't have
Absolutely.
space in my office, but I'll be sure to
All right.
help you out.
Co-
Thank you.
Councilmember, I think that also, and we'll work together with the response. There's a number of violations as part of the Small Business First Initiative, where Oath has agreed to have different types of either online or through telephone adjudication methods. Hearing from small business owners that they could not go to a particular location, and that was a barrier. So we'll get back to you in terms of like what those violations are that you can actually dispute online or via telephone as well.
And I appreciate that. And I think one of the things that we as city agencies just fall a little short is letting people know of all the services that we do provide.
Oh.
You are, I am really excited about all of the services that SBS provides. I'm just not sure that, you know, the businesses know about it, and I just want to make sure that we make sure that they're aware of all of the wonderful things that all of these agencies are doing to help expedite their businesses.
I think you're absolutely correct. We, and I said it at the last Nightlife Town Hall, as government, we do a really bad job in terms of marketing. And it is, I say we do a crappy job, didn't I? We suck at it. That was the exact words. And part of it is that when we get funding for programs, it's really the funding goes directly to the programs. And it becomes very difficult. For example, I could make an argument that, you know, I could do a $2 million campaign and do a nice TV spread to make sure every business knows about our programs, but I'm sure the New York Post will have an article about the fact that I'm wasting $2 million for awareness. And I can't measure awareness. As everyone in this industry knows, awareness is very difficult. And then the taxpayers then decide, you know, do you want money to the programs, et cetera. So all that to say is that organizations that are here, you know, we work closely as with council members. We need people to spread the word. Certainly we can do a better job, and we will continue to communicate as much. But I need to know, especially as a Commissioner for Small Business Services, as business owners in this room, whether you give feedback to the Office of Nightlife or to us directly, what is the best vehicle to actually get the word out to you? Because I know you're busy running your business. I have individuals who will actually go door to door to businesses. We work with, we have a mobile unit that we deploy across the city, and we work with elected officials to figure out the best place to put it. So, you know, we have different ways. We work with local press, because that's one of the ways. I have found social media to be one of the more targeted ways. But at the end of the day, and I was just having this conversation with my marketing team, a lot of business owners, when you need help, you go to Google. That's the first place you turn to. So we just need to figure out what other areas we need to do a better job. And then certainly I'm willing and totally happy to listen to all types of ideas coming out of this. Oh, I am a keyword. I've done a lot of with SEO strategy in terms of paying for ads, in terms of when someone search for business help, SBS pops up at the front. We pay for that. We pay for keywords. We try to do as much as possible, especially when it comes to access to capital, because a lot of business owners, when they're looking for capital, they go online, and you get these online lenders. I could go on and on tonight about where you can get this capital really quickly, but by the time you're done paying, you've already paid about 30%, 40% interest, and that's dangerous for a small business. So we are really, really concerned about how to get the word out. So thank you for bringing that up, and certainly would like for us to get feedback from the businesses in this room about the best way to do that.
Yes, definitely feedback and hearing ways that people can be helped, rather than also what can the Office of Nightlife do? How can we help you? By hearing from you is the best thing to do.
Can I have a follow-up with the DOHMH, so Department of Health and Mental Hygiene? So one thing that I also wanted people to hear is that there is also a legislation, again by Rafael Espinal, about education in nightlife, again, for safety, for consensus. You know, it's difficult for women, for LGBTQ, etc. So it was very helpful when the commissioner said SBS has certain programs. Does DOHMH has any, you know, trainings or other kind of programs that businesses can work with you about this kind of awareness and training for their staff?
Yes, hi, thank you so much. We do have a lot of support services for restaurant owners and operators. Myself, I'm the ombudsperson, so I'm there to respond to comments, questions, complaints about the inspectors, the inspection. We have our health academy. We have consultative inspections. That's an educational visit by an inspector that is scheduled with the owner, and we recommend that you don't tell your staff that we're coming, you know, so they could think it's a real inspection. However, that's also available. We have inspection history reports. We have various support services available. We have our customer service office that's open Monday through Friday, ready to assist you. You can call, email, or just come in. Yeah, we do have various support services, and I try to come to all community outreach meetings. We come and we do workshops with a group of restaurants at community boards. So we are available for you, and we want to assist you. We want to help you do better and to better meet food safety regulations.
I actually think that's a really good segue, since we have all these incredible heads and representation of city and state agencies, and perhaps at the next meeting we'll do it at the top of the meeting rather than somewhere in the middle or end. But I think it would be a good opportunity to perhaps go down the line and introduce yourself and your department and how your agency works with nightlife and community, and how you feel it can best serve the issues that we've been hearing at these town halls. Perhaps we could start all the way with the introduction. Keep it brief, but...
So my name is Felix Ortiz. I am here on behalf of the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearing. I am I work with the ombudsperson pro se clerk. I'm the support manager. And my office has been working with Ariel and the Office of the Nightlife. And we've been a part of the tour, and we will continue to be a part of the tour.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Joe Helferty. I'm with the New York City Department of City Planning's Staten Island office. I'm a senior planner for the borough of Staten Island, specializing in mostly commercial development and development on the North Shore of the island. So as the Department of City Planning, the majority of what we do is regulate what can be built and where. So in the particular case of nightlife, regulating what types of businesses can locate where throughout the borough. And I think that we see our role in this in trying to determine certain regulations that maybe are not in supporting this general cause or potentially even outdated, and see where we can address them and balance that with community needs.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Michael Gilsonen. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for the Bureau of Environmental Compliance. Within the DEP, we have a group that works with businesses that you can reach out to, that they will help with all the regulations. DEP is a very big agency. We deliver the water, we take away the water waste, we're responsible for air and noise, asbestos. So there is a group that within DEP that you can reach out to, and they will help you. I am particularly responsible for air noise enforcement. Our main job, as everybody's been saying up here, is we want compliance, we want to help. We're not out there to issue violations. There are times when we have to. But most times we find that working one-on-one with the business owners, we're able to come to agreements and fix problems.
Good evening again. My name is Magda Desdunes with the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. I work with the Bureau of Food Safety and Community Sanitation. I just provided you with a list of some of the support services, but as a restaurant owner and operator, you do have rights. We have our operators owners' bills of rights, so you can read that. You have the right to request that your inspection is provided in a different language with the use of language line. We also want you to know that if you're disagreeing with something that the inspector is doing during the inspection, you can request that the inspector call their supervisor so you can discuss any issues. And even after the inspection, I'm available. Please call me right away. and I can investigate on what's going on. If I have to, I'll come to your restaurant if I have to look at video or something, but I'm here to help you. But we really want to protect the health of all New Yorkers, but we also want to help you better meet food safety regulations. So just please contact us, and we do welcome your comments. We may not be able to change everything, but we do want to work with you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Jones. I'm the Deputy CEO of the New York State Liquor Authority. I'm in charge of the Zone 1 office, and I think I'm the only state agency here where Zone 1 is New York City, Westchester, and Long Island, and the Liquor Authority regulates alcohol, the manufacture, sale, and consumption of alcohol. We have a licensing bureau which issues the licenses, and an enforcement bureau which would enforce violations. And my job here is to be the ombudsman and to reach out. And I attend community board meetings and events like this, and I give my email address. So if any people have questions or concerns, they can email me directly, and I review the situation.
Good evening. My name is Ira Gluckman. I represent the Department of Buildings. I'm the Borough Commissioner in Staten Island and Brooklyn. The Department of Buildings regulates and enforces the building code and the zoning resolution, and we give out certificate of occupancies to various businesses and residences. We give out public or place of assembly permits and temporary place of assembly permits where we look for egress and lighting and seating. And whenever we give out a temporary place of assembly permit, we notify the fire department and the police department of the event.
Good evening. My name is Greg Bishop. I'm the Commissioner for the Department of Small Business Services. I think I talked a lot about our resources, but just so you know, we have a center here on Staten Island, NYC Business Solutions Center. It's at 120 Stuyvesant Place. If you're looking for assistance, whether it be just trying to figure out how to grow your business, get capital for your business. We don't do grants. It's all debt capital, because I know a lot of folks are going to ask me about that. How to navigate government, the different incentives. We're here to help. We offer 9 sets of services to the small businesses. We've helped over 1,200 businesses here on Staten Island in the last fiscal year. So definitely take advantage of our services or spread the word about our services. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pierre Charles Fair. I'm representing the New York City Fire Department and mostly Bureau of Fire Prevention, because we have the guys on the trucks fighting fires, and we work closely with the Department of Buildings and the police department, and we conducted inspections, and we do give permit as well for whenever you have a TPA. We get it from the Department of Buildings. We will conduct inspections and give you our permit as well. And I would just want to stress something out. Whenever you have a violations from the fire department, there is a reason that we used to call it notice of violations. It's not written in stone. This is a notification that we gave you something is wrong. You could feel free to call the fire department or even 311, and they will send you back to us so we could address the issue. So any problem that you may have, you call us, we'll be able to help you.
Good evening again. Deputy Chief Frank Vega. I work for the Chief of Department's office over at One Police Plaza. But more importantly is the group to my left. I got Inspector Delahanty, who coordinates the quarterly nightlife meetings for the entire borough of Staten Island, is here. The North Shore Commander, Inspector Abbasi, is here for the 120. Inspector Harrington, the commander of the 121, is here. Captain Eager for the 122 is here, and Captain Noonan from the 123 is here. So obviously, I'm just one voice, but obviously, the collective leadership for the entire island is here tonight to, address, obviously, afterwards, specific questions, particular problems anybody may have, certainly going forward, obviously, because one thing that, my partner to my left said, some things we suck at is, we have a lot of meetings and we just forget about things too often in the New York City Police Department. The follow-up is very important to us now. We're trying to change that philosophy. So we don't want to just have a one and done. We want the conversation to be meaningful, lasting, and proactive. I brought with me tonight the best practices guide. I'm sure many people in the room have it. If not, there's a batch in the back. Just to explain, it's the third edition of the Best Practices program pamphlet that's been created by the New York City Police Department with our partners. Go back 1,000 years, the relationship between bar owners and the police wasn't the best. You know, a fight happened in a bar, the police went in, shut the bar down, we gave a summons, and we left. That was pretty much, you know, our cooperation and corroboration. So we tried to fix that over the years. We met with a number of leaders in the nightlife industry, in Manhattan in particular, obviously. And we created the first edition of the Nightlife Best Practices Guide. And it was a very good doctrine. A lot of good ideas came out of it, and we went forward with it. We had a big publicity campaign, a big meeting, a big rollout with it. But time evolved. And at the time, I was out here at Staten Island, and some innovative leaders at nightlife, some bar owners out here, Jimmy McBratney, Joe Torito, we got together and we created the second edition of Best Practices, basically just to, you know, keep it fresh, get some different out-of-borough experiences into that book, into that pamphlet, to make it more user-friendly for the non-Manhattan nightlife owners, the challenges they may face. Fast forward, unfortunately, then the Pulse nightlife mass shooting casualty happens in Florida. We obviously realized that we have to make a component of, you know, that into the Best Practices Guide to better equip us, better equip you to handle such disturbances. So it also falls into the third edition of the pamphlet. So obviously, you know, as things evolve, as things, you know, progress, you know, we try to get better at what we do. But obviously, this is the start here. I mean, I don't think anybody does it better than Staten Island in terms of communication and problem-solving ability. And so I just want to thank you all for coming down tonight, and I thank Ariel for being the creative mastermind behind this initiative.
Well, thank you. Let's give everybody here a hand, please, for really representing. And what the Office of Nightlife really hopes to do is to really be the umbrella, really, of all the city and state agencies, industry, community, performers, and to be on our website a one-stop shop. So rather than going to all these websites and trying to find best practices and other amazing resources that they have, you can come to the Office of Nightlife website, which is being built. It's not all done yet, so stay tuned for that, but it'll be nyc.gov/nightlife, and operators, employees, patrons, performers, residents can find all of this information as well. And I think in retrospect, we'll do these introductions at the beginning so people have a better understanding of who is in front of them and what type of questions that they have the opportunity to ask. Now that we all have a better idea, is there anyone else who has anything else to say? One more. All right, great. Come on up.
I'll be quick because I'm sure everybody wants to go. Thank you all for coming down tonight. With this table I have here, I've got a million questions, but I'm going to keep it to under 2 minutes. I'm in the bar business 10 years now. People that don't know the bar business think that we're millionaires, that we make money hand over fist. You know, you factor in rent and payroll and CAM and electricity and all the things come in there, we're squeaking through. And while I appreciate the efforts made by you, Debbie Rose, I know helped tremendously with that, getting those fines reduced with the health department, it's not enough. And when you combine all the agencies and all the smaller violations we get now together, it kills us. We don't have that kind of excess. And a bad year, you know, it could shut you down. In reference to the Department of Health, and I know other bar owners have experienced this, I'm sure, I've had spotless reviews, and the inspectors say to me, well, I have to write you for something. What does that mean? I mean, is there anybody else in here that's gotten that? Okay, yes, 1, 2, all right. So we get that. We have to write you for something. I got crumbs under my stove on a Friday night at 8 o'clock. You know, so I mean, and going back to the times too, to come into a restaurant at 8 o'clock on a Friday night, probably not the optimal time that we have to shut our kitchens down. And of course, there's gonna be crumbs. So these are things that I think if everybody got together and realized that, yeah, while they are lowered 40%, they're still way too high compared to, you know, all the organizations together. And just recently, I don't know, again, I'll ask some of the other business owners here, that one thing kind of lets up, another one comes on. So now sanitation has been coming around 9 years, now going on 10. Never heard about this orange sticker that we need. She was gonna fine me, it was gonna be like $1,000 for this, that tells them the date that your garbage is picked up. I had never seen it, and I said, can you show me what it looks like? She walked me out on Highland Boulevard, mind you, and not one business had this. So this, in my mind, is now, this is how the city wants to make some money on the business owner's back. So I got the sticker. It was very free to get. You just have to call your people that pick your garbage up. But we're always getting attacked by somebody somewhere. And it's, you know, it hurts us. But that's all. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks so much.
Sorry. So I share your pain and totally I get it, because I understand that when I say fines have been down by 40%, it doesn't really resonate if the same thing like when we talk about our murder statistic, and even though we say we had the lowest crime rate in the city of New York, for the people who have lost loved ones, it's still not low enough. So I totally understand that if you're a business owner and you're still getting fined, what I'm saying up here doesn't resonate with you. Just so you know, we have, similar to this group here, there is a group of individuals from the deputy mayor, all the deputy mayor's office. So you just mentioned sanitation, you mentioned health, DOT. There's a lot of agencies that you interact with, and they span different deputy mayors. And one of the things we had to do was bring everyone together to share these stories. So even though we have completed the first part of Small Business First, which was to look at the regulatory environment and to make changes to some of the different rules. For example, we now have legislation where if you're about to interact with the Department of Buildings and the fire department, you don't have to go to both and you don't have to file with both. So that's going to save you money and time. We heard that from listening to business owners. So I heard you about this now enforcement with sanitation. I did not know about that. That's why I come out to these things, so I could hear what's happening out there. We have heard a number of times, and the health department is part of that circle, about inspection. And one of the things that we have been really pushing, and this is a cultural change, is really to help bring some level of civility to the inspection process, and to ensure, because one of the things I always tell individuals is that this is a city of 8.6 million people. And when you walked into this building, you did not really question the structural integrity of this building. You didn't question whether or not this building will collapse on us. When you go out and eat, you don't question whether or not you're going to end up in a hospital. So the rules are there for a reason, and we just have to make sure that they're not there to penalize you, and that we keep New Yorkers safe. When they go out at night, they actually have fun and they end up going home. So we have to have that balance, and especially keeping the city as safe as it is, we certainly want to make sure it's not at the detriment of our small businesses. So that's why we're here, and that's why I'm listening. Certainly there are other rules and regs that we are continuing to look at to figure out how to make that more streamlined. And when we are doing, especially when we talk about enforcement, some of the things I've heard from small businesses is at least a cure period. So if you are in the wrong, whether it's, and we're dealing with issues with different regulations, we are now looking at, can we institute a cure period? So if you're wrong, you can fix it. But if we come back and you're still wrong, the fine may not be the same, it may be doubled because we gave an opportunity to fix it. That's on the table. But then in certain areas, we can't do that. For, in the health department, they can't have a cure period, because if you're wrong, it could mean like a whole bunch of people that could either end up in the hospital or die. So there's certain areas that we're looking at, and certainly I will get back to my sanitation commission. This is the second town hall that I have to go back to sanitation to talk about some of the enforcement that's happening out here. But thank you very much for bringing that up.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I think this has been a very successful. Oh, you got something to say? Fantastic.
What I like to say to the board up here, first of all, I like to thank the...
Make it easy on me, Tom.
No. Chief Vega we started these meetings back when Chief Vega was the borough in my spot, and I was the CO to 122. And it was a mandate by the police department, and we still continue it out here. So I want to thank all the people who came out tonight. Most of them got the invite from the NCOs or the community affairs offices directly. If you plan on doing this again, I invited the bar tavern owners. That's who come to my nightlife meeting. You want restaurants, I like to eat in a lot of restaurants too, and I have a lot of personal friends. We'll get them next time. So it was maybe a little miscommunication, because I'm counting as my nightlife meeting, because I'm not taking them away from their business a second time for the quarter.
Yeah.
So this is it, guys. We'll do another one in January. So if you do have any questions, we're all over here if you need any information. But what I want to get a point is, in Staten Island, different from other parts of the city, some of these businesses, these are multi-generational. This came out at the last meeting. These people are running family businesses. So that was a nice slide of how much money it gives back to the city and income and jobs and everything. But the other stuff they do is they give back to the community out here. So when we do these meetings, they're not adversarial. So a lot of this, like this SBS, you were great, very well spoken. Somebody like you, I would love to have to come to my meeting, because when you have these meetings, we don't, like the new commissioner, I'm not there to beat them up. If there's an issue, we'll address it. We also want to let them know the crime issues that could be affecting their businesses. And a lot of times there's questions I can't feel. So Detective Kelly, Mary Kelly, stand up. She generally coordinates this to me. If anybody's willing to come out to one of my meetings and be more one-on-one, because I can guarantee you, some of these people are probably still lost looking for this building like I was. I usually have about 40 people here, so I appreciate those of you guys who have come out. But I appreciate all you coming out, and I'm serious about that. I had the FBI speaking at the last meeting. I brought facial recognition, trying to enhance their security systems. I'm always welcome speakers to come out because these guys deserve it out here. And I don't think anybody's going to say any criticisms of the police department. If you do, we'll do it over here.
Nope, not with you standing there.
Thank you.
But happy to take you up on that offer. And that goes for any organization that's out there that if you represent a group of businesses, I'm happy to come out and talk about our services, because that is one of the ways we get the word out. So I will take you up on that invitation, and I'll see you in January.
I'll be there too. And we'll definitely be doing more of these meetings. And thank you to all of the officers that came here tonight, and to everyone. Really, the purpose of these meetings and the creation of the Office of Nightlife is to really humanize the community, the nightlife community, the residential community, the performers, the owners. So this is not just about rules and regulations and best practices. This is about supporting each other, supporting the industry, so that we can support the culture, support our city, and to be better neighbors with each other, to be better operators, to be better neighbors, and to be a better city. And so I think this has been a wonderful, enlightening meeting. I'm extremely grateful to all of you again for taking the time out to be here with me this evening. And we have 2 more meetings to go on our 5-borough listening tour. The next one is in the Bronx on the 15th, and then we're landing in Manhattan at Town Hall on the 28th. I encourage you all to come to other meetings and to spread the word. This is so important to the vitality of our culture and our economy and our identity. And all of these agencies are here to speak with you. If there was perhaps somebody who is shy or has an issue that they don't want to speak about publicly, feel free to address them. If you have something that comes to mind later, please send an email to our office, nightlife@media.nyc.gov. And we also, again, have the mediation in the back if you have perhaps a dispute with a neighbor that you'd like to address. Thank you all. Thank you to Snug Harbor. Thank you to all the city and state agencies, and to Team Nightlife and to New York. Thank you all. DJ, hit it.